It's anti-Semitism if you're saying anything derogatory against a black Jew. It is anti-Semitism, folks, whether you like it or not. It is. And you need to stop anti-Semitism. Whether it's a white Jew or a black Jew, you need to stop it. Okay, let's look at some historical roots. Anti-Semitism has existed for over 1,000 years against black Jews. Some major historical events include religious anti-Semitism, Christianity refusing to recognize a black Jew. Your minister has a church full of black Jews, African Americans, and will hide the fact from the congregation that there are black Jews out in the audience. Why? So he can pay for the gas for his Cadillac in his big home. What do I mean? If you know you have black Jews in your church, you have to take a collection up for them. You have to lift them off welfare, Section 8. You have to stop the police from physically abusing them. You have to stop the government from putting poison in their water, giving them the worst schools, giving them the worst food, giving them the worst communities. You'd have to stop all that. And who's going to do that? That's why it's so important for Christianity to keep quiet on who the black Jews are, because of being able to benefit off of these people, not just the church, but also the government. Okay. Black Jews blamed for religious events, including being falsely accused of causing the death of Jesus. They say it was the Jews that put Jesus to death. No, it was not. The Jews, let's tell it like it is. Black Jews wanted Jesus to shut up because it's teaching. This is why the Council of Nicene or whatever, around 300 AD, destroyed all knowledge concerning Jesus. There is nothing that is original on earth that you can find about Jesus. They destroyed it and then rewrote the book. That's why you get all that New Testament and whatever else. Okay, they rewrote the book because they wrote him out. They wrote the truth about him out and then gave you some other option. But it's already known. It's a known fact within Christianity, within the biblical community, that most knowledge about Jesus had been destroyed, who is also referred to as Yahuwah. No, Yahusha. I'm sorry, Yahusha, because my Bible does not have the letter J. Okay, let's continue. And when you say, well, if the Jews didn't put him to death, the Jews ordered his death. This is similar to a hardcore gang member sits in a trial. The jury says, okay, give him the death sentence. So they ordered his death, but they're not the ones who physically put him to death. It is the government who will put him to death. So who put Jesus to death? It is the Romans. And the Romans come from where? Rome. And where is Rome? In Italy. So that's who actually put Jesus to death. People that came from Italy, who were referred to as Romans, and they must have come from, I guess, the city of Rome. That's how that happened, folks. So both of them have blood on their hands. The only difference is the ones who did the actual killing or murdering of Yeshua or Jesus was the Romans. And again, where did Romans come from? City Rome, which is in Italy. Okay. Myth and lies that are spread as blood libel, they call it, claims that black Jews harm non-Jews in rituals. Completely false. Black Jews are being forced into segregated areas called ghettos or expelled from American communities because of their race. Sure, when I was a child, there were not so many black ghettos in America. Ronald Reagan comes in 1979, and there's an all-out offense on the black community. Jobs are sent overseas. Prisons are being built. There was not a high crime level as Ronald Reagan's coming in. Because Jimmy Carter, a Democrat, okay, he's at the end. Ronald Reagan comes in. He's pumping up the military. He's attacking the black community by doing what? Pumping cocaine into the communities, taking jobs away, and writing contracts with prison companies. If you sign a contract with a prison company, the contract states that California, the prisons had to be kept 90% full. I think places like Arizona, 95% full. You say, what does that mean, Anthony? You haven't built the prison yet, but in order to build the prison, we're going to sign a contract that we're going to keep you 90% full. Meaning that we have to find a group of people that we can start sending to prison to be able to stay within the contract. So the best choices are going to be black and Mexicans. That's what they started doing. Horrendously locking up black and Mexicans. Why? First you put the cocaine into the community. Once they touch the cocaine, you go and arrest them. You don't arrest the CIA that's bringing in the cocaine. You go arrest the one who touches the cocaine. So now you have this cycle of what? Filling the prisons and fulfilling the contract. And who are you going to use? Black Jews, African Americans, and Mexican Americans to do this. After about what? 40-something years of this madness, we go ahead and we start changing the drug laws. Oh, because somehow we found out it's not a crime, it's a health issue? No. The contracts with these prison corporations are over. So they don't have to keep them as full anymore. So since those contracts are over, we don't have to go lock up so many black Jews, African Americans, and Mexican Americans. And as you notice, there's this mass of letting them out of prison now. Let them out of prison. Why? Because if I've incarcerated you for 20 to 30 years, I'm going to let you out so you can go commit more crimes and end up going back. Let me continue. I don't want to get off on this. But let's talk about racial anti-Semitism that's been going on since 1640 to 2025. 1640 is roughly around where they really started this slave trade. So it starts roughly around just a little before, but 1640 sounds like a good number. Black Jews were falsely labeled as biologically inferior or dangerous race. You know the black can't think. Come on, that black Jew can't think. Come on, you know those black people, they can't perform. They're only good in basketball and football, not education. Come on. This is what we call stereotyping. First, we give them the worst schools, worst food. We make sure that we keep a heavy police presence, sirens always blaring in their communities. We're going to give them cocaine and drugs in their communities. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say, look at these people. They're nothing but criminals. Look at these people. They can't even hardly pass the school test. You understand? You go out and do the most heinous acts that you can do. And then you turn a blind eye to them. Interesting. Let me continue. They never talk about the Black Jewish Holocaust from 1640, which is still going on today. The American government uses anti-Semitic ideology to justify murdering black Jews every day. It remains the most extreme example of genocide driven by anti-Semitic hatred. There's said there were close to 100 million slaves lost at sea. 100 million. We can at least say at least 10 million. That's a Holocaust. Because there were only 6 million Jews that were actually murdered under Hitler. And not all of them were Jews. Probably some of them were Polish and whatever else. But 6 million. The slave trade, minimal, murdered a 10 million at sea. They just threw bodies over the side. 100 million was the estimate. Now that's a Holocaust. It is impossible for you to have 10 million people, whether you like them or not, die at your hands and think that somehow you're blessed. Because among these 10 million or 100 million were black Jews. And now, after you've murdered these people at sea, throwing them over the side, you decide to call upon a Jesus who is a Jew to save you. It's preposterous, folks. It really is. Because you're saying, well, what do you mean, Anthony? You're causing death and destruction and then asking for help. Okay, let me go ahead and let's continue. Modern forms of anti-Semitism, black Jewish anti-Semitism today, doesn't always look like it did in the past. In the past, you could see it. Whips on their backs, being hung. And what does Yeshua say? Jesus. You shall be treated as me. Now, what is funny is that, what part of the Bible, the back of the Bible, has 6 times that it says we took him down from the tree. He was hung on a tree. The church come up with that mess. Oh, he was sacrificed on the cross. Are you that much of a fool? That you're telling me that the Romans took all day to chop down a tree. Remember, they didn't have no electric saw. Hand cut this tree so they could make this cross for this guy to carry. No, they just took him to a tree and they hung him. That's what they did to Yeshua, or Jesus. They hung him. Because it states that 6 times in the Bible, in the back, that he was hung. And my son wants to explain to me how the tree, hung on a tree, represents the wood used for the cross. I told him, how foolish is that? It says he was hung on a tree. It says that 6 times. We got him down from the tree. He was hung on a tree. And he says, you will be treated the same as me. Okay, now we get to America, and what do they do to the black Jew? They hang him on a tree. Anybody know any black Jews that was ever put on a cross? They hang him on a tree. He says, you shall be treated the same as me. Let's continue, folks. Explicit, direct, and obvious. Modern forms of anti-Semitism. Slurs, hate symbols like hanging dummies or a noose. Here in California, there's a city called Clovis, California. In Clovis, California, way out in the country, there was a bar, a club, kind of on a bend. And that club had a dummy hung. They spray painted the face black, and they put a noose around his neck, and they hung him. And they said, no ends after dark. My daughter, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, travels to Missouri, where her husband is from, his family is from. And she says they went way back up into the woods. And they had a big sign that says, no ends after dark. This is 2015 or 2010. Come on. It still exists today. Anti-Semitism against the black Jew. All right. Let me go ahead and let's wrap this up. Let me pick this up. Hidden or subtle, suggesting black Jews are all on welfare, using stereotypes about crime, greed, and laziness. Them blacks are always committing a crime. They lazy. They always on welfare. Christianity denying black Jewish people identity or their history. All the Christian church has to say is that black Jews exist. And boom, it's on. They won't do it. Not even the black ministers. So the black ministers are more anti-Semitic than white ministers in Christianity. Why? Because the black minister is looking at black Jews sitting there in his church and he's silent. Why? Because he can't steal from them this Sunday. He would have to take half of the money, like you're passing the cup. We got to take half of this money and give it to some of them black Jews in the church. There would be an outcry. You gonna give what? You giving them what? Some of my money? Well, they're black Jews, aren't they? No, you're supposed to send that to white Jews. You ain't supposed to get that to no black Jews. So you would have an outcry within a black Christianity, right within their churches. Okay, let me continue and let's almost stop this. Online anti-Semitism, conspiracy theories spread on social media, harassment of black Jewish creators or public figures. If you don't agree with a certain thought, then you're discriminated against. You say, what does that mean? Okay, how many people hate our present President Donald Trump? I don't hate him at all. Why? And he's not racist. Not against blacks. Why? Because he had a black girlfriend in the 80s. Blew your mind on that, huh? They wouldn't even tell you that he had a black girlfriend in the 80s. Most black people didn't even know that. He had a black girlfriend in the 80s. There were black people, African Americans, in New York that he gave loans to. They could not repay those loans back. He just forgave them. He said, forget it, y'all. Y'all ain't even got to pay me my money back. You don't hear that in the black community. Why? Because hate thrives. Hate thrives. Hate against black Jews, hate against anybody that want to help you. Okay, common themes in anti-Semitic beliefs. Okay, black Jews are too lazy, but also weak. Black Jews are criminals, but also steal everything. Black Jews are ignorant, but also need to be controlled. These contradictions show that anti-Semitism isn't based on logic, it's based on fear, misinformation, and hate. Why anti-Semitism persists? Simple. Anti-Semitism is often used in times of economic hardship. People look for a group to blame. My grandmother said to me, and she passed away in 1999, Grandma said, grandson, I'm glad I won't be alive during your times. When Ronald Reagan was elected in 1979, I was still a youth, 17 years old. My grandmother looked at me and says, I'm glad I won't be alive during your time. And I said, why, Grandma? Because they're going to take back everything that we've strived for. So once Ronald Reagan comes in and you send jobs overseas, racism starts to flourish. Hate. So what you do is you take a community of people, put drugs in their community, always show them being arrested on what is referred to as bad boys, what they gonna do when they come for you. What was that show? Cops. 20 years of cops always chasing African Americans and black Jews, constantly promoting this on TV. arresting them for crack, arresting them for whatever else, constantly promoting this hate in the media. America just loving it. But again, this is where economic hardship, they sent the jobs overseas, they had to give people somebody to hate, and they chose African Americans. Today, in 2025, they're using Mexican Americans, and they're referring to this as deportation and whatever else. So in America, they're always are going to force your attention to a group while they're doing whatever discriminatory hardship or whatever they're doing. But remember, 80s, 90s, we use blacks. Then what they do is they will switch over to Mexican Americans. They never will. They're no longer really messing with the Asian Americans. And Asian Americans went through a lot. World War II, Vietnam War. They suffered a lot. So they sort of laid off these groups and decided, well, we'll just use the blacks and the Mexicans is what they're doing. Okay, I'm almost done, folks, because black Jews are a small minority worldwide. They often have become targets for conspiracies, theories, or scapegoats. Distinguishing anti-Semitism from political criticism. Blame all black Jews for crime in America. Attack black Jewish individuals or institutions as irresponsible. Say black Jews everywhere must justify or defend their political decisions they didn't make. Okay, they give you Obama. Obama goes and does this and does that. That's you black people, because he represents you, right? No, he doesn't represent me. He represents the rich. He wasn't raised by anybody that looked like me. He was raised by white people. Let's face it. So Obama did not know me. And the only ones that looked like him around him was Michelle and his two daughters. Everybody else was white. How is that somehow being able to relate with this group when you wasn't raised around them, you wasn't raised by them? His mama was white. His daddy just got the mama pregnant and dipped out. Okay, and folks, why understanding anti-Semitism matters. It helps recognize harmful beliefs or stereotypes. It supports safer, more respectful communities, helps prevent violence and discrimination, and understanding history helps ensure tragedies like the Holocaust never happens again. One thing is that white Jews always tell you, remember the Holocaust. Why? Because it's happening now to the black Jewish community. This is Anthony Schollers with No Women in Heaven. You be safe. You take care. You stop being anti-Semitic against black Jews. Be safe.